Of all the human species that have ever walked this planet, none are quite as fascinating as the Neanderthals. Not only because they looked like us, not only because they lived alongside our ancestors, but because even now, tens of thousands of years after their last footprints faded, pieces of them are alive in us. Up to 2 to 4% of the DNA in modern humans outside Africa comes from Neanderthals. In a very real sense, they are not gone. They are part of our story. Yet when they lived, between 400,000 and 40,000 years ago, this was not a safe world. Eurasia during the Ice Age was a land of snow-draped forests, frozen plains and monsters, woolly mammoths, cave lions, enormous bears, packs of wolves. To survive, you had to be more than human. And so, the Neanderthals became something else entirely. Their bodies evolved for power, their lungs for energy, their bones for durability, their cultures for survival. They became, in many ways, almost superhuman. From a distance, you might mistake a Neanderthal for an especially stocky modern person. They averaged 14 centimeters, 5.5 inches shorter than us, but made up for it in sheer mass. Average male, 83 kilos, 183 labi. Average female, 66 kilos, 146 labi. But this wasn't fat. It was dense muscle wrapped around dense bone. Their skeletons were nearly twice as thick in places, giving them compact, powerful frames. Every joint was broad: shoulders, knees, elbows. Their torsos barrel-like, their arms famously thicker, earning them the nickname Popeye People. Their sheer physicality shocked scientists who analyzed their fossils. Compared to us, they were built like wrestlers, shorter reach, but incredibly stable, immensely strong. If dropped into a modern gym, it's estimated a Neanderthal male could bench press nearly 220 kilo, 450, 500 labi without training. Females might manage 160 kilo, 350 labi. Those are elite levels in our world. For them, it was everyday survival. Why so strong? Because their prey demanded it. Neanderthals did not hunt rabbits for dinner. They hunted Ice Age megafauna, woolly rhinoceroses weighing 2 tons, horses with thick winter coats, and most famously, the woolly mammoth, weighing as much as an African elephant, but clad in fur that made them harder to pierce. Their spears, often 2 meters long, were heavy, more like thrusting poles than throwing javelins. And their hunting style was terrifyingly bold. Close-quarter ambush. They didn't bring down a mammoth from 50 meters away with bows. They lunged in, stabbing at bellies, driving spears into giants face to face. This style of hunting explains their injury rates. Up to 94% of Neanderthal skeletons show healed trauma. Fractured skulls, broken ribs, shattered limbs. Yet they healed, because Neanderthal groups supported each other. Even the injured were fed and cared for until they recovered. They weren't just strong, they were practically unbreakable. Genetic clues suggest their skin, hair, and nails were thicker and tougher than ours. Combined with their dense bones, this made them resistant to cold and injury alike. Some skeletons tell shocking life stories. One male who lived for decades with a missing arm, a smashed eye socket that left him half blind, and ears sealed shut by bone growth, leaving him deaf. And still, he survived. Not just because of his own resilience, but because of his people. This speaks volumes. Neanderthals weren't only brutes. They had the capacity for care, compassion, and a deeply social culture. Neanderthals were walking power plants. Their barrel chests enclosed rib cages that supported massive lungs. On average, they had 20% more lung capacity than us. But some exceptional individuals like Kabara II may have reached 9 liters, more than any athlete recorded in modern times. Their noses were enormous, long and wide, processing nearly twice the airflow of ours. These adaptations warmed freezing Ice Age air and pumped oxygen fast into bodies that demanded 4,500 to 6,700 calories a day. But their physiology made them sprinters, not marathon runners. Short legs meant shorter strides. Wide toes and different tendon structures emphasized bursts of power over long-distance efficiency. Their muscles carried more fast-twitch fibers, optimized for explosive speed. Our ancestors may have worn prey down with persistence hunting. Neanderthals met them in sudden ambush. Speed, impact, ferocity. Perhaps the most surprising part of Neanderthals is not their muscles, but their minds. Their brains were on average larger than ours. 1,640 cm in males, compared to 1,350 in modern Homo sapiens. Brain size doesn't equal intelligence, but it does mean capacity. Their skulls shaped those brains differently. More circular, with large areas dedicated to vision and sensation. Their eyes, up to 15% larger than ours, meant they saw more sharply and likely adapted better to darkness, crucial in Ice Age winters where daylight was short. What did those brains allow? Organized group hunts, care for the elderly and wounded, mastery of fire, tool production and even hafting, attaching stone tips to wooden shafts with adhesives. Art and symbolic behavior, cave carvings, use of pigments, wearing of ornaments, burial of their dead, with hints of ritual care. This was not a lesser people. This was a different kind of human intelligence. Their hands were subtly different. Wider fingertips, thumbs splayed at broader angles, built less for delicate fine motor tasks, more for raw gripping strength. And when their hands were busy, they used something else, their teeth. Front teeth in many Neanderthal fossils are worn flat, far beyond what diet alone would cause. The best explanation? They used their jaws as a third hand, clamping leather, gripping fibers, holding wood as they worked it with blades. Their diet was overwhelmingly meat-based. Isotopic studies show up to 70% of their calories came from animal protein. They were Ice Age hypercarnivores, capable of tearing down the megafauna around them. It's easy to picture Neanderthals as solitary brutes, but the evidence tells another story. They lived in extended family groups. They tended fires in caves. They cared for the sick and elderly, sometimes for years. They buried their dead, a sign not just of respect, but symbolic thought. And they interacted with us. DNA evidence proves it. When modern humans left Africa, they interbred with Neanderthals. Love, lust, alliance, exchange of knowledge, and perhaps even friendship, all are written into our genomes today. And then, they were gone. By 40,000 years ago, Neanderthals had vanished. Why? Perhaps a mix of factors. Climate swings that shrank their icy homelands. Competition with modern humans, who hunted more flexibly, endured longer sprints, and had wider networks. Small, isolated populations that dwindled over time. But not all of them disappeared. Millions today, in Europe, Asia, the Americas, carry their DNA. In little ways, they live on. A gene for immune response here, a skin adaptation there. In us. So who were the Neanderthals? They were not dumb cavemen. They were not failed humans. They were another path of humanity. Strong where we were weak. Fast where we were enduring. Resilient where we were fragile. They were powerfully built. Capable. Of strength we would call superhuman, surviving wounds that would cripple us, feasting on the giants of the Ice Age. And yet they cared for their families, protected their young, crafted tools, used fire, and told stories in the flickering glow of caves. They vanished, but they never fully left. They are in our bones, in our blood, in our DNA. The Neanderthals may be extinct, but in truth, they are still here.